and Macron deny that they are getting groovy on the cocaine train. Let's have a look. So this is from the Telegraph, a British newspaper that's somewhat reliable on some issues. Emmanuel Macron has denied bringing cocaine onto a train headed to Kiev for a meeting with Vladimir Zelensky. Certainly Zelensky's name's never been mentioned in connection with cocaine. So why don't we look with our own eyes at this video evidence and decide, is it a tissue or is it a cocaine wrap, baby?
It's a long walk. I'll be back in Poland.
And through my bathroom, huh?
It's literally. We came through Germany, and then we made it to France.
German bedroom, and
we got through the border.
Right.
Make a photo, and after that you will be allowed to have a drink.
Yeah.
Super.
Yeah.
Tout le monde va bien.
Now, Macron did hide that, but you would hide it, I reckon, if it was a tissue, if I was going to be in a photograph. Elise, a French outlet. When European unity becomes inconvenient, disinformation goes so far as to make a simple tissue look like drugs. This fake news, coined by Trump, that phrase, never forget that, is being spread by France's enemies, both abroad and at home. We must remain vigilant and against manipulation. But even if you don't believe this story, do you see Macron as the leader of France, like the representative of the spirit of the French people? He is speaking for les gilets jaunes. He is speaking for the French farmers. He is speaking for those that are concerned about the borders of France. The spirit of France, the France that had revolutions, the France that threw out Napoleon, what France is he a representative of? Let's have a look. It gets a little deeper. This is, I think, a more modular, molecular and microscopic look at the footage. Oh, yeah, and it's got Clapton's Cocaine in the background, so we can enjoy that.
If you wanna hang out, you got to take her out. Cocaine. If you wanna get down on the ground, cocaine.
That's a very, very good piece of memeing right there. There's a sort of AI footage of these little nerfs enjoying themselves, these little Swinburnes, these little twerps. I think we can all enjoy that for a moment, can't we? That's very sort of sweet. Now, what is the actual issue here? I suppose the issue is a total lack of trust, a total lack of authority, a sense that the elites that govern those countries, France, Germany, and the UK, of course, left the EU. Why are we even involved in these kind of negotiations? They're on their way to meet Zelensky himself. Here, though, is Keir Starmer, the politician who seems to be one of those politicians that will alter their perspective according to expedience. He'll just say whatever's required. And here he is saying what's required now. We're going to get control of our borders. We'll obviously have a look at him making different claims when it was convenient to make those ones.
Good morning.
Oh, okay. Good morning. It's the morning. I hope it goes well. Good morning. Nice start.
Today we publish a white paper on immigration.
Oh, bit of administration, bit of bureaucracy on the subject of immigration. Keir Starmer's always said Britain's a melting pot, that diversity is our strength, that cultural pluralism is beneficial to the UK. He's in fact gone so far as to call people racist if they had an opposing view. In particular, Keir Starmer, when the 3 little girls were murdered by a first-generation migrant in Southport, condemned the people that protested as racists and fascists and far-right. Also, notably, they used the admittedly brilliantly made and excellently acted show Adolescence to highlight the idea that it's young white males that are generating and the cause of violence in the UK. In short, I believe this to be a political figure that will say whatever they want to say. Nice work in the Rumble chat. White paper. The white paper we're interested in is the white paper on your train ride with Macron and Merz. That seem to be white paper with the sweet smell of Christmassy cocaine in it.
A strategy absolutely central to my plan for change that will finally take back control of our borders.
That's interesting. That is not the rhetoric we expected. In a way, you can't trust the integrity of someone that would just say that because he's never been about the integrity of our borders. And also, by the way, I always think it's interesting when people in political power act like they're dealing with some sort of oppressive adversity. Like, you know, when Joe Biden said, we beat Big Pharma, I was like, we beat Pharma this year! Hold on, what are you telling us? Are you telling us that Big Pharma has power and the President of the United States has no power, as we've always suspected? Now, Keir Starmer is the Prime Minister of Britain. He was voted in with an incredible mandate. He has a large majority in Parliament. If they want to marshal the shores of Britain and turn back boats, that power is available to them. They've got an army, they've got a police force, they've got budgets, they can do it. So the claim that there is some sort of stumbling block or opposition to their power, what is it? The little boy out of adolescence? He's stopping us. The little boy out of adolescence has done a knife crime on me and there's nothing I could do. Now, good news though, I'm going to have another AIDS test. We've decided that the way to stem the tide of illegal immigration into the UK is to make sure there's not even a jot of AIDS down my winky. I've looked down my pecker peeper. As you know, if you've looked at your own, men, we've all been there. There's a small set of lips, tiny lips at the end of the tip. It's a pale purple in colour. Now, you look down there, that's where the AIDS could be. It's 1986. You've been out. You've had a blood transfusion. You've been intravenously using heroin in Haight-Ashbury, San Francisco. You've been having unprotected anal sex with a bunch of your buddies. What you've got to do now is look down that spy hole. Now, take a Q-tip, normally in the ears. You don't push it in the ears. Well, by Jove, I'll push it down the pipe hole. You get right down there. Out comes the AIDS. Give it a whiff. Offer it to Macron. He can have a bit. Give Zelensky. You can have a boost of that, mate. That'll get you in the mood to take on Putin next Thursday week. Now, we've got to control the borders of reality, the borders of my PP, and the borders of Britain, in that order.
And close the book on a squalid chapter for our politics, our economy, and our country. Take back control.
That's literally the slogan of Brexit. Take back control was the victorious slogan for Brexit, which he opposed. He was part of the political class that spanned the Conservative Party and the Labour Party that were against Britain leaving the European Union. That was led primarily by Nigel Farage, even though it was clear that Jeremy Corbyn, who was the leader of the Labour Party and a very left-wing, old school left-wing where it means like I care about people more than I care about money, that version of left-wing. There's positive versions of it, you know that, dear beloved Americans. Those dudes were against Britain being in the EU because he said it manacled them to administrative and bureaucratic authority that nullified the will of the people of Britain. Right? Keir Starmer now is literally using not only the policies of reform, but the rhetoric of reform. Do you see what they do when there is a threat is they'll incorporate whatever they can to maintain power without ever really yielding to the will of the people, because these people do not work for you. Do you imagine for a second that they do? Free speech is under attack, mine particularly, yours and everybody's, whether it's British government officials demonetising people on YouTube, putting people in jail for Facebook posts, or the various other ways the nefarious systems and institutions that work, I reckon, for Satan drag us down into the pit. We have to fight back. And how are we going to fight back? Rumble. When major advertisers conspired to pull their dollars like Dunkin' Donuts, they said that Rumble had a right-wing culture. Well, that can't be true. Let's have a look at just some of the posts here. I come on here just to look at men in tight-fitted denim hot pants. That's from Don Trump Jr. All in the Rumble chat. This is a free speech conduit where you're free to be whoever you want to be. It's all available to you in the Rumble chat. For a limited time, you can get 10 of your American dollars off, and you can use crypto, baby, using the promo code APAC. No, using the promo code brand. Visit rumble.com/brand and get your discount today. Together we can turn the crimson tide of foaming propaganda and stay free together. Click the link.
Everyone knows that slogan. And everyone knows what it meant on immigration. Or at least, that's what people thought. Because what followed from the previous government, starting with the people who used that slogan, was the complete opposite. Between 2019 and 2023, even as they were going round our country, telling people with a straight face that they would get immigration down, net migration quadrupled until in 2023 it reached nearly 1 million. That's about the population of Birmingham, our second largest city.
In a sense, if you are a leader, you have to set out a vision for how you would like the country to be and how you plan to lead it. But you also have to be robust enough to acknowledge that the people's will is ultimately what you serve. The problem is that people are fickle and broken and fallen, all of us. So if we are not being governed by principles that are somehow transcendent, somehow divine, that have an undergirding for their claims of truthfulness and righteousness that goes beyond just what's popular at the moment, we're going to struggle. In the past, they've always been pretty sympathetic towards refugees and migrants. Hey, I am a refugee and a migrant. But what I think a lot of people in Britain have felt is that their culture is being challenged, diluted, undermined and broken. And part that I've always focused on is top-down commercial corporate control, the banalising and homogenizing of the culture, that you will no longer walk down a high street and see a friendly greengrocer and a butcher and a fishmonger, local businesses, friendly folks from around the way that know you and knew your dad, that ken your old man, that ken your kids, their kids going to the same school. No, it's been banalised now, every high street the same, dropped on us, glommed on from on high, taxes paid elsewhere, Netherlands, Ireland, broken apart. Then in the more observable way, slow, gradual migration of what many people observe of fighting age men that are either there to sort of take economic advantage of the UK, which one can completely understand, or perhaps there's something more nefarious at play. What I learned in the pandemic, for example, is if the claim they make for their power is that they want to help you, it's probably a lie. So when they were saying 6 feet apart, stay in your house, wear the mask, take the jab, every single one of those now has been exposed as deceptive, compromised, and sometimes actually malfeasant as an offering to the public, as an agenda, as guidance, as leadership. So it's reasonable to suspect that when they say we have an obligation to look after refugees in nations that have been corrupted and folded over because of either our military or commercial activity, in the way that still to this day, there's just a terrible exploitation going on all over the world as a result of corporate and commercial interests that ultimately make their money and register their businesses here, even if they don't pay their taxes here. When I say here, I mean UK, USA. You can't trust them on that, man. You can't trust them. They're in no position. So when even the silliness of the cocaine story, whether it's true or not, highlights the lack of legitimacy of their power. That's what people are feeling. That's what we find hard to articulate is, can't rely on these fuckers, man.
That's not control, it's chaos. And look, they must answer for themselves. But I don't think that you can do something like that by accident. It was a choice made even as they told the country, they were doing the opposite. A one-nation experiment in open borders, conducted on a country that voted for control. Well, no more. Today, this Labour government is shutting down the lab. The experiment is over.
That's weird language, man. That's weird language when we've all got these doubts about laboratories. When they did a deal with Moderna, admittedly the previous administration did a deal with Moderna for millions and millions. And Moderna, as you know, our previous Prime Minister was a shareholder in it, albeit through a secret trust. And we know that their inquiry into COVID has been sort of moot and limited. Now, look, just to emphasise this point, here's Keir Starmer a few years ago in 2020 talking about the subject of migration.
We need to make the wider case on immigration. We welcome migrants. We don't scapegoat them. Low wages, poor housing, poor public services are not the fault of migrants and people who've come here. They're political failure. Political failure. So we have to make the case for the benefits of migration, the benefits of free movement. I want people in this country to be able to go and work abroad in Europe. And I want people in Europe to be able to come and continue to work here. I want families to be able to live together, whether that's in Europe or here. And I want people in this country, in the United Kingdom, to be able to go and study in Europe, just as they can now.
Yeah, all right, mate. Thanks for helping. Here he is. This is also Starmer talking about Trump's negotiating ability pertaining to the trade deals with China and the peace deals between potential peace negotiations, at least between Putin and Zelensky. Now, Keir Starmer has positioned himself against the kind of MAGA populist movement and certainly any British equivalent. And here he is praising Trump. A lot of people aggressively condemn and criticise Trump, but when they have to deal with him, they shut right up. Check it.
Thank you, Mr. President, Donald. And
it's interesting to hear him on an answer machine because it's probably like he's a little Stuart Little pipsqueak mouse in there, actually in the room somewhere going, thank you, Mr. Donald, for your help.
This is a really fantastic, historic day in which we can announce...
Stop saying them! Stop saying them!
This deal between our two great countries, and I think it's a real tribute to the history that we have of working so closely together. Can I pay tribute, Donald, to your negotiating team as well, particularly Howard and Jameson, who've done an incredible job, a very professional job.
I really want to praise them up, big them up, all my N-words. I'm going to tip a 40 to the curb for my fallen homies. I'm going to stick an ace test down my dick just for the sheer pleasure of it.
And my team as well, two negotiating teams have worked.
You know, I'm going to do some leadership. I'm going to call you Donald, you know, to show that we're equals. And I'm going to big up my team. What does it say in leadership book now? Praise team. Team, I praise you like I should.
At pace now for a number of weeks to bring in this deal today.
I took an AIDS test like I should. Here he is. This again I find offensive is when they try to normal you. You know, when they try to go like, oh, bloody only problem was I was watching the perishing football. I'm just like you. I'm just like you. I'm doing coke on a train with Macron. Just like you. I'm watching Arsenal PSG. Just like you.
No, I didn't know the exact day. I wouldn't have been having my phone call with President Trump halfway through the second half of the Arsenal PSG game had I planned it better. But that's the way it turned out. That's the discussion we were having late last night about how we proceeded with this deal.
Please don't rise up as a furious mob and devour me. Please don't rise up as living sons of the soil and daughters of these great island kingdoms and destroy all these grey, blushing bureaucrats and dash us into the ground upon which we stand, the country that we desecrate. I'm just like you. I was watching the bleeding Arsenal. Come on, you gunners! I was saying, go on, do it to those Frenchies. I'm not like Macron, though. I like him. Bang us a bump, give us a quick key, why don't you, Macron? Yeah, I'll give it them Frenchies. They don't like it up them. They don't. And these migrants will stop these borders. And what is it we don't like now? Now, this is the lyrics of Michael Jackson's song Black or White. I see my baby on a Saturday day. Is this girl with me? It don't matter if you're black or white, but you try coming to this country, I tell you, I will AIDS test you into the middle of next effing week. Now, that's what you voted for. Let's bring back control to our country again. And I told him, I said to him, Donald, bloody hell, it's Donald. If you don't answer a phone call during Arsenal PSG, put that motherfucker on silent and chuck it out of the way and watch Arsenal, sadly, choke at the semi-final stage, whereas the mighty West Ham United took home a European trophy. Let's not discuss the details of that. not so long ago. Hey, that's just what I think though, guys. Let me know what you think in the comments and the chat. Hey, thanks for watching. If you want to see more uncensored content where free speech can flourish, join our live stream. Click the link right here to watch the next video if you want to, or become a member of a growing movement. Download the Rumble app and you'll be informed every time we make a new piece of content. Stay free.